Welcome, everybody, to the TM1 Breakfast Show. I'm your host, John. Thank you for joining us for another session of the TM1 Breakfast Show. Today, I've got a special guest, Nimeesh. Hello.
Hey, everyone.
Hey. And you may have seen Nimeesh in the previous episodes before. But before we get into personal life of Nimeesh and what he's been up to, let's give a quick introduction of what we're going to do today. So, the topic of our discussion today is what's the least obvious way that people can get more value out of their TM1 planning analytics system. I say least obvious because it is very useful, in my opinion, but a lot of people don't think about it, or it's so obvious that you don't see it. Mm-hmm. It's like one of those moments where someone have their glasses on their heads and you go, "Where's my glasses?" Okay, that was a terrible analogy, but Nimeesh is going to do a much better job at explaining this. So, you have been working deep in the trenches of complex, sometimes chaotic, and difficult situations where you have to go out and help customers or sites with TM1 to help them get more value or out of the TM1 and also keep the lights on, because in some cases it's so complicated where you're working. And they call for the Tiger team, and that's where they get you into,
or the SWAT team,
the SWAT team, to get things fixed. Now, without spoiling it right out, so you've been doing it intensively for the last, I guess, 2-3 years now, particularly since COVID, and I think it's an interesting point because a lot of us have experienced the different cultural dynamics in the office place when people are now working remotely, where in the older days, maybe it's easy to have a conversation like we do because, we're in the same office here in Sydney. I go, hey Nimeesh, can you have a look at this issue for us, please? And you'll be like, yeah, sure. And when that happens, sometimes it's easy to brush some finer details or problems not being recorded, not addressing them properly. So therefore, it happens again. And so I guess in terms of supporting a good, well-oiled machine in these TM1 environments, your service has become more important than before. Now, today, we've got you on here, I guess to the people who's listening, we're not specifically talking about the service itself, but your experience in the field. How can they help us and maybe shed a few lights of aha moments for other people who have thought, oh, we have this problem. Maybe it's time we think about it too, or maybe it's time this year, 2022, let's put it in the plan, because we can't plan for it if we're not aware it's something we have to address.
Absolutely.
So that was a very long introduction, so thank you for waiting. Now, take us through a little bit about what you've been doing for the last 12, 24 months. And I guess in a way, we can lead into what have you been doing and how have you found the things that you're doing adding so much extra value to people that they potentially didn't even realize they needed.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've basically been spending, as you mentioned, firstly, great opportunity here. So thanks again for the introduction. So it's been quite a fun journey along the way in the past 2 to 3 years, working with different sets of clients, with small models to medium to big, very large models as well. And in the space of support and managed services engagements, basically, addressing the BAU needs and, long-term improvements, obviously in terms of the service level agreements that are there, tied up to them, but also emphasizing more and more that there is a need and a place for the proactiveness of, these issues that come up, as well as ensuring those issues are, fixed with the intent of continual improvements. Because if the continual improvements, it's basically working hand in hand in ensuring that the most return of investment is achieved out of any TM1 organization or TM1 model within an organization. So it's proactive, support, if you may say so, and ensuring that whatever that's being done, built, implemented, is with the intent of continually improving.
Right. You've touched on a few key points. I think it's interesting to rehash into a little bit deeper or slice it a different way. I think when you mentioned support, as you said, like in a way, it's kind of like support, but it's not necessarily support as what some of our viewers might be used to the idea of support, because a lot of people's idea of support is you probably have as not to diminish the experts who's on the supporting roles, but there are certainly sites that have what's a better way to put it, but like a call center type of support program where it's not that the program can't necessarily get you what you want, but it's one of those experiences when you call the phone and they go, "Oh, what's your issue? Okay, let me patch you through to our expert," and then the expert asks you a few questions. "Oh, let me patch you to another expert." So 5 phone calls later, you go, "Okay, why don't I just send someone an email and sort that out?" So I guess that's one type of support. And I want to dive a little bit deeper into when you mention, continuous improvement and a bit of support. How has your experience with your work for the last 2-3 years changed the perception, maybe for some of the people you work with? What is support in this case?
Well, so what we've seen, I think there's benefits on both sides, as in, the client side, as well as, what I felt on our side has been that whoever is actually working on the engagement, or whoever is the lead consultant or lead, technical account manager that's actually working with the client, when the issue comes through, they are the experts that are actually going to be working on the issue. So there is no, I guess, in a way, I guess if I may say so, like a hierarchy of certain levels. Like this is the initial level 1, and then it goes to level 2 if the problem doesn't get mitigated, and then the advanced root cause analysis gets conducted. How it helps both ways, it's because the transfer of information and perhaps repetitive information, and that adds to the actual lead time and actual resolution time. But in this case, I think because we've seen in those 24 months and 3 years time, it has helped both sides in getting to the crux of the problem faster. And also the fact that the person involved, the consultant involved, already has a prior knowledge of the intricacies of the model, the application. So that also adds up to the comfort level of the client itself when they are reaching out in those sort of situations. So it's a bit of both in helping out and facilitating the engagement.
Oh, okay. So my next big question is going to be, I'm going to ask you to share a story or one of your favorite experience. But I kind of relate to what you say here, because in this day and age, when I call for support, I already have the mentality that, okay, I'm going to be dialing 3 numbers, and I'm going to get passed around, and I'm going to get used to explaining the same situation 6 times. Perhaps that is not so fun during crunch time or month end when you need the answers right now rather than I've emailed somebody for you. Please wait. Okay. I mean, I'm sharing my experience, but it's important to put into context. There are definitely valid cases where you got to share expertise, and you do have to have teamwork to share information around. But what you're specifically getting to is having the expert where your first touch is your one-stop shop.
Yeah, exactly.
To give all the users what they need to do my job, because
Absolutely. Well, I do want to point this out that I like to think it as a massive plus point when we're working with engagements, and what we've experienced over the past years is client engagements that have Pulse, for example, also further helps facilitate in the root cause analysis, because Pulse is so fundamental in having capabilities that helps you get into the bottom of issues, understand, because the fact that it's knows what's happening in the TM1 system anytime. you have the capability to go back into finding out what was potentially the bottleneck, or sort of realign with what the business user is indicating with what they're seeing on their side. And then Pulse being, this mechanism to kind of tell you what's happening within the internals.
Yeah, no, that's true. Yeah.
Plus, proactiveness is, again, one of the things that you were mentioning, sometimes least obvious, because when a user is having a problem, Pulse has a mechanism to report that, and we get in our engagements, we would get informed about it, that the model is experiencing XYZ issue. Maybe it's an opportunity to further look into it. And what that does is it basically helps, in a proactive fashion, help address the problem before it becomes a massive problem for the wider business.
Yeah.
And then
downtime and crashing
exactly
the servers. And
so in a traditional way, you could potentially think of it, maybe perhaps reacting once the issue happens, but Pulse, or once the ticket gets logged or things like that. But Pulse has this mechanism where it can proactively alert you. We get notified about it. We would connect to the environment, action on it, and then that way, at least you've not got a chaotic sort of situation to help mitigate. So Pulse plays a vital part in ensuring that we are providing that proactiveness. And again, key point: continual improvements. Finding those moments of innovation where we can piggyback on and ensure we share those enhancements and recommendations back to the client, because it's important to ensure that we're improving all the time.
Yeah, that's not to be glossed over. The continuous improvement and capturing the innovation, essentially, in my view, is the spirit of TM1. Well, one of the core pillars of TM1.
Yeah,
you don't want to create something as lockdown, so therefore you want people to experiment in things, but you also don't want them to create their own offline,
correct,
whatever, insert word _ hell,
exactly.
Yeah, okay. And this, I mean, this is not a Pulse show, right? For the people who's watching it, you probably know Pulse already. But I thought it might be worth mentioning here, because I was speaking to someone about this similar situation the other day. If you have Pulse, make sure you switch on the new functionalities, upgrade the latest, because that ability that you kind of gloss over before, because we don't want to go into too much detail, but it is important to note that the ability to dive back 4 hours or 17 minutes ago exactly what happened in the server when something bad happened.
Yep.
When you have it, you kind of take it for granted.
Yeah.
But when you don't have it, you're trained to give up and not investigate further.
Absolutely. Yeah. What this also allows is what we have seen is when this problem does happen, it gives us the opportunity to then, ensure that whoever the champion is on the client side, or who has the subject matter expert or an internal team and administrator, it gives us the opportunity to then share that knowledge back, so that if something like this was to eventuate down the road, you've got an internal expertise being built, an internal knowledge base being built, so that you can get down to the bottom of the issue potentially, and action on it, so that you're retaining that information and knowledge and maximizing on a tool like Pulse, and as well as maximizing your benefits into the TM1 system.
Just a random question here. If anyone ever came up to you and said, "Oh, Nimeesh, thank you. You helped save my marriage or my family relationships, because now I don't take my work home after 6."
Yeah, no, I mean, like that's the key point, right? Like, as in ensuring that lights on and BAU kind of things is important, but you've got to make sure that, or at least we want to make sure that the system is humming along. You're extracting every inch out of it and pushing TM1 to the boundaries what it's actually built for, and so that you can enjoy and have fun doing TM1, basically.
Yeah, TM1's so much. It's a bit biased here, but we amongst TM1 friends, so much fun. Okay, all right. So because we can go around this for a long time, because we have many of these conversations before, but what we haven't talked about though is what has been your most recent interesting story that you could share with us. Yeah.
So I guess as you may respect and understand that every engagement is different, every engagement is unique, every engagement has a history, every engagement is looking to achieve a certain objective down in the future. But one experience or one journey really struck a chord with me, was basically, obviously, key person risks are a very, very valid, I guess, theme that I'm seeing particularly come every now and then. You know, you obviously have TM1 experts working across TM1 organizations, TM1 models. You know, there's that trust being built across organizations. But there comes a time, or at least I hear when I'm having those discussions, is if that person was to go off on vacation, or especially in the norm and the times that we are living in, get COVID or get sick, or even if they are changing roles, there's a certain risk of the knowledge that they've built, the understanding that they have built, and the trust people around consuming that information that have built into that person. So key person risk is a real thing. And in this case, we experienced something similar. We had encountered, as part of our engagement, we basically experienced pre-engagement metrics to understand what the system was doing at that point in time. And as a result of that, we found out that there were certain areas or certain processes or certain actions that weren't documented, I guess, if I may say so. But because we fast forward 6 months, this particular instance or task was being done only once a year. So the fact that it was going to happen in a very quick span of time wasn't really valid. So when the business did come with a request, obviously we didn't have that documented, but a tool like Pulse, as I mentioned, played a very vital role in pinpointing exactly when it was run, how long did it run for, what were the parameters that were selected to execute, along with some of the details within TM1 logs that we were able to match. And in fact, instead of going into deep trenches of the logs, we were able to, in a very short span of time, execute it, get the job done, get back the results to the business, and the business was basically back onto their feet and getting their the needs or the reports that they needed. So as a result of it, the business found trust back into the system. We were able to capture that information, document it now, and it's happy days. So
it's like nothing happened.
It's like nothing happened.
Oh my
so
goodness.
it could be, it could be not a big deal. Maybe I'm making it a big deal. But for me personally, my personal opinion, that struck a chord because there were a lot of things that happened prior to that. As I mentioned, pre-engagement metrics, capturing, understanding, speaking to the business, understanding what those processes are, and then letting Pulse do its own thing was able to, achieve that outcome. So that's a story for me.
I can imagine a lot more emotional roller coaster during that story you've mentioned, experienced by different people. I mean, how often do we see key man risk where a part of the planning process gets lost with somebody?
Yep.
Either relocation, actually it's very, very common now.
Yep.
Relocation or transitioning to a different role.
Absolutely.
And then no one knows, what do we actually load?
Yeah.
What are those secret files? Not secret, but what are those hidden processes someone has to do?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what you're saying is like, because you guys are the experts in using tools like Pulse, you're able to solve that quickly.
Yep. Absolutely.
Here's a follow-up question for you. So in my mind, and typically in those scenarios, someone could take easily half a day up into number of days to reconstruct or trace back step by step what has happened. I mean, what do people do? Open workbooks, right?
Yeah.
Trace a TI1 at a time and trying to figure out a lot of things, look into logs and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, high level, how much time you reckon you guys shaved off by having this in place rather than going manually?
Easily a few days. I mean, it was something that was done, 365 days before, almost a year ago. can be done, but again, you would have to go through a whole lot of investigation, whole lot of analysis of information and data to try and find out what it was done. But here in this case, you can assert with a certain level of confidence that this is exactly what was done with the help, and achieve the same outcome that the business expected. So we were able to shave at least a few days of work, and in a matter of an hour or so, we're able to achieve the task.
That T1 administrator must love you.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the outcome on there, it was trust into the tools that they have. Obviously, Pulse, TM1, and obviously it's a good story to tell, because the business was able to, I guess, in a way, trust us as well. That we have the environment, understanding of the environment, and that there are experts to support them.
Sure. And also then on the business side, I guess the business user, CFOs and the finance side, business side, would probably or also love the person who's in charge of TM1, because with all these changes, you're still able to.
I mean, as good things resonate, bad things also resonate, but this was definitely a positive story.
Okay, maybe we can invite them on the show next time. Okay, but let's do a couple of quick questions, because there's limited time for breakfast for everybody. So the first one I've got for you is, if people don't do this, I mean, okay, let's quantify it. We've been talking about continuous improvement, finding ways of framework to capture innovation, and having the expertise to support.
Yep.
An environment.
Yep.
Yeah? What do you think are the easiest things to miss if someone doesn't do that? Like miss out on?
Well,
in your opinion, of course.
Of course. I mean, if you don't do these sort of things, I mean, you could still achieve what you're achieving, but I guess you may not be able to foresee the actual real progression that the system has had a chance to make. So in our experience, and particularly my experience, I have thoroughly, I've enjoyed seeing, those monthly progressions that the engagements have made, in the sense, as I mentioned to you, about pre-engagement metrics that we capture. And it could be metrics from a performance point of view, from the usage point of view, the user adoption point of view. I have seen those KPIs change on a monthly basis. And when you look at it from a bird's eye view after a year, you can easily pinpoint what the improvements were, at what rate they were, and that kind of actually helps you to potentially plan out ahead, and kind of like the next state of TM1 within the roadmap, within business, or from an IT point of view, finance point of view, or whichever team within the organization is using TM1, you kind of actually have a complete view of that journey.
That's true, and that's super important. Like for people to get do analysis on return on investment, it's so important to have that info, because otherwise, how would you know
exactly?
Well, what is it worth to the organization to implement XYZ next time?
Yeah.
When you can't measure it, and when you don't measure it, it's kind of like my weight. But anyway, that's not the topic of today. Just get out of control. So you need to put something. Okay, yeah.
Not only just the metrics, right? It's also important to have the opportunity to have direct dialogue with the business or the end users that have an opinion about TM1,
so true.
That are using TM1, that are daily using, or however that whichever frequency that they're using, and have an opinion about performance of TM1, usage of TM1, having that dialogue with them and understanding how it is performing, whether it's meeting their business needs, is there anything else that can be actually done? That actually also formulates a call it a backlog of potential tasks or actions that can be done. So having that monthly dialogue, having that engagement discussion, and ensuring that you are striking off all of those, potential recommendations or achievements within the model, it's basically like leading up into that continual improvement curve that we started at the start of the discussion.
Right,
so
okay.
It's all like a building block that meets those objectives.
And to interject here would be, you're essentially giving the business a lot of tools to go back to you're giving a lot of tools to the TM1 environment, the owner of the TM1 environment, to go back to the business to have a lot more meaningful conversations.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm not saying they didn't have it before, but
Yeah.
now they have got real stats like user adoption is a meaningful matrix now. You know, it can be a carrot, it can be a stick as well. You know, you guys need to log on. And I complain all the time, but you don't even log it.
Absolutely. I mean, like it's as simple.
Hopefully I didn't.
It's as simple as
insult anyone out there. Yeah.
It's as simple as a certain key feature or capability that needed to be implemented. You can see in real time, or perhaps in a due course of time, in about a month, how well or how strongly it was received. If the user adoption is increased, then you know it has been positively received. If it hasn't, what else can be done to make that rate a lot higher or more, so that you're maximizing the outreach?
Wow, I haven't thought about this before, but it's almost sounds like your role has been to empower the local TM1 environments to really get some points on their board internally, because you know it's their system. Now they've got information to go back to their customers, internal customers.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a journey.
It's not a 5-minute job.
No,
right?
no, absolutely. And every journey. I mean, not to say there are certain roadblocks that we do hit. There are certain walls that we do hit. But the interesting part is, how do we get around it? How do we get around those issues or those blocks, so that we learn along the way? And the other aspect is, because we're working with so many varying use cases, so many different clients, PA cloud, private cloud, on-prem, Cognos with TM1, there's Paul, Parfait. There's so many use cases that we have. So we also have the comfort of knowing, okay, that customer had the exact same issue, and this particular customer is facing the exact same issue. So there's that knowledge and comfort that the customer also has that we're working with. So it all gels, in a strong way. And of course, we've got the benefit of leveraging the other TM1 expertise across Cubewise. That also helps along the way too.
That's right. For anyone who don't know who's sponsoring this video, it's Cubewise. Okay. I think one thing we want to clarify before we wrap up, because it's pretty much that time. Let's not forget, in the new 2021 TM1 Breakfast Show, we are introducing competitions, friendly competitions, something fun. You can just join on our Instagram account. So it's #TM1 Breakfast Show. We'll leave the details in the show notes. But anyway, to participate, share your story, a one-liner, and then you win some pretty cool merch. Ooh, yes. You could have your own bragging rights with you 365 a year and go to the TM1 events with these bragging rights. So we will put more details in the show notes, but what we need to know is this month's competition is for everyone, no matter where you're at. Share us a story on our competition. So go to Instagram, the show notes. Share your story of your aha moment, your innovation moment in the TM1 journey, whatever it might be.
We love stories.
Yeah. Well, I love stories. I can think of a good one on top of my head. And just add a photo or add something catchy. Could be long or short. Even 10 words will do. So the winners pick at random. I guess the key thing here is you got to be in it to win it. Experience does not matter here. It's just to have some fun.
TM1 story, right?
TM1 story.
Just to be clear.
What am I going to do about you? So share with us your TM1 aha moments or your continuous improvement journey, and be in to win it. Be in it to win it. I am a terrible podcaster. All right, so moving back onto our topic, I think closing a couple of questions I want to follow up from what we've said before is, first one, what do you think in terms of the value people are going to get if they are new to TM1, if they have a small environment? And the context, I think, is what you've described here. For us who's worked in very big projects and big organization, I can it's no brainer to me. I can see it with my eyes closed. But what about for small and new TM1 users? Do you think it's going to add as much value, or is it like a scale? It's
No, I think in terms of the whole principle of improving and continually improving, or enabling proactive assistance or proactive support, is applicable to both volumes of environments, small, mid to enterprise level. So the important thing is to have, I guess, a structure and framework around it, and just to enabling that. And again, especially for new users, as they're introduced to using TM1, it's ensuring those questions and those queries and those pondering moments are actually captured and addressed, so that you address them right away at that moment. And again, those initial moments of innovation that you're actually answering them and educating them, because that's what makes it more fun. Educating certain aspects of getting those questions answered. Builds their confidence, gets them to do what they're expecting to do, and then opens door, right? Okay, well, those are those, I guess, sometimes you can call it light bulb moments, where they see the first initial success, and then that kind of builds up their sort of usage and for new users, and builds that journey. So to answer your question, it's applicable, and that's what we have seen. We've got small models, small applications, to very large, multiple applications across the board.
Okay, great. And to qualify that, I guess rough ballpark, small is like 5 to 10 users maybe.
Yeah.
Large, hundreds and up to thousands.
Yeah.
Okay, that will probably cover most cases. All right, so now the closing would be then, for the people who find what we've discussed today interesting, what do you recommend the next steps to be?
Well, look me up.
Yeah, do that.
Nimeesh Kaushal on LinkedIn. And yeah, just basically, hopefully, some of these things are just stories that we have shared or we've talked about is enticing enough to, I guess, start those questions internally within your organizations to check, are there, support capabilities in-house, perhaps procedures put in place. Hopefully there is no key person risk. If there is, then start those conversations. I guess start on that journey of introspection in a way, to find out, are there right processes? If a business user was to have a problem, or if the system demands a certain immediate issue, is there a need for service level agreements? Is there a need for an urgent issue to be resolved or looked into in a certain period of time? Because there are organizations that, again, we see that this is emphasized a lot more than some of the other organizations.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
It's about finding whether those needs are becoming more relevant. And as John, you pointed out, that we're always here to answer those questions. And if any of this story does sound, interesting, look me up on LinkedIn, Nimeesh Kaushal, and I'm sure we can put some details on the follow-up notes as well. So hopefully we can help along the way, and hopefully you've learned quite a bit today.
Yeah, thank you. And yes, we're going to have the details in the show notes, or you can also hit me up if you want other TM1 related cool stuff. But anything we've talked about today, I mean, you've made a very important point. It's something that they can do themselves, and they should absolutely do it. It's like, okay, maybe it's not the best example in my head. Like, you want to check for health problems up front. Yeah. You don't want to face them when it's too late. TM1 health is also important because it adds a lot of value if you treat it well.
Absolutely. So, you want to make sure it's a well-oiled machine, as every machine needs to be. Yeah.
Look into it yourself. It's not too hard. Anyone can do it. You just need to take time to do it. So that's what you're saying. You just got to go and do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. And I'm going to plug something for Nimeesh because he isn't mentioning it. I think you guys are working on a white paper or a case study.
Yep.
So for the people who are interested, I guess drop us a comment, go and find us, find Nimeesh and follow that up if this is interesting to you. So by the time you're watching this, dear viewer, it might be out already. So yeah, thanks for staying till the end, and this is the present we give you. So, they're going to be more facts and stats that you can use to improve your own organization's TM1. I guess we're happy to help. So, thanks for tuning in, and we'll see you next time. And I don't know when we're going to do another one. We should do.
Hopefully soon.
Yeah, soon. Yeah.
Take care. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe, and have a great TM1 week. Woo-hoo. See you.